Hello, scholars, and welcome to the syllabus review for CJ485, Research Methods in Criminal Justice. The objective of this video is to review our syllabus and hopefully answer all questions syllabus related and answer any of those potential issues or questions that we might face when it comes to how this course is going to operate and the standards that we're looking for throughout our next 8 weeks together in CJ485. If you're familiar with classes here at CBU in our OPS, you will find that this syllabus is very similar to your other courses. So there will be certain portions that I'll move through quite rapidly, and then there will be other portions that I will go into great detail that are particular with this course. So we understand that there's our course description, and I'll read this to you. The course examines scientific approaches to the study of criminal justice. Students will learn how to research and study crime using the scientific method. Students will be exposed to various research methods and designs, which will be illustrated with criminology examples and exercises. Finally, the students will calculate and interpret measures of central tendency, dispersion, and association. So in essence, in this course, we are going to take a research topic that is related to criminal justice, and we are going to make a research project out of that question. The premise behind this is not that we are making you into criminal justice researchers. It's so that when we read academic papers and when we read academic articles that are based upon research, we have a better understanding of how they got to that conclusion, how the data approach is associated with that, and how we can then interpret those results and have a better understanding of the validity of these studies, the data that has gone into these studies, and ultimately to get a better idea of the use of these sorts of studies. We have our online learning description that is you're going to find familiar from all of your ops classes. Here is my information. Once again, my name is Brian Gazzetta. This is my email address to contact me, and I do have office hours by appointment only, and we will email to schedule. There are two textbooks that are required for this course. There's the primary text, which is going to be the Maxfield and Babby Basics of Research Methods for Criminal Justice and Criminology, and that is the 4th edition. And then we also have the APA 2009, the Publication Manual of the American Psychological Association 6th edition. Now, that is going to be a reference book that you are going to utilize through your entire OPS career or your entire educational career, as it is going to outline how to write in APA format. With all of our courses here, there is going to be an academic version in which we want you to write with. And for many of your courses, it is going to be utilizing the APA format. So that is the reference book for how to write. And if you haven't already have this book at your disposal, it is a good book to have, as you will reference it as you move forward in your academic writing. But for the case of this class, the Maxfield and Babby book, Research Methods for Criminal Justice and Criminology, is going to be the book that we will be utilizing and referencing much through this course. I think this is a very well wrote book. It is a condensed book coming in at a mere 300 or so pages, as opposed to many of your books that are much richer in text. But this condensed version, I believe, it does a very good job of clearly articulating the different steps of this research process. And when I say steps, and as we go through this class, you're going to realize that this class is designed on a modular build. And you're going to hear me say that a lot in this course, that it's built on a modular system. You build step 1, you build step 2, step 3, step 4, and we put all these pieces together, and that is ultimately going to make our research project. And the basics of research methods clearly states each one of these steps. And if you were to actually read this book, much of the concepts will be very clear to you. And like many of the classes that you're going to encounter, in order to be successful in this course, you are actually going to need to read the textbook. We just don't buy these to look at them, to skim through them. If you read these sections, you are going to be very successful. If you do not read this book, you are going to have a difficult time in this course. We then have our core student outcomes, and we have a set of goals and the objectives on how we're going to reach it. You can review on your own. And then we have our assignment overview, and I'll quickly go through these. There are quizzes in this course, and there's going to be 7 of them worth 175 points. They're going to be multiple choice, short answer, and essay questions, and they're based on the assigned readings out of the Maxfield and Babby text. There are written assignments, and there's 6 of them, and they're going to be worth a total of 150 points. And these are going to be those modular portions that I spoke of. Each week you're going to write on a portion, and when we combine all these written assignments, that creates this research prospectus, which we'll talk more about. So these are going to be the building blocks for our ultimate research perspective. There are discussion boards in this class, and remember, all of our online classes, we miss the component of being in a classroom and having dialogue and talking amongst ourselves. And we replace that in our online classes with discussion boards. And I expect our discussion boards to be replacing the dialogue. So you are going to contribute to the discussion board by entering an original post, and then you're going to reply to your fellow students. And when I say reply, I need you to build upon what they have added. I don't want just simple, I agree with, great post. That doesn't contribute to the body of knowledge. I want contributions. And as we move forward, I will clearly discuss my expectations of our discussion board. But remember, that is going to replace our dialogue that we lack in our online classes. We also have journal entries that you're gonna produce, and I believe there are 4 of them that come in at 25 points each. And the purpose of these entries is to help the student plan, monitor, and reflect on the weekly learning activities. And so we have 4 journal entries. We have an annotated bibliography. So as we talk about our prospectus, we're going to find out that our prospectus is made up of 3 pieces: an introduction, a literature review, and a methodology. And those are the 3 chapters that our prospectus is going to be made up of. Many of our written assignments are going to make up that first chapter, the introduction. Our second chapter, our lit review, is going to be our annotated bibliography. Our annotated bibliography is going to consist of 15 references that you have found in literature, in academic literature, that is going to support your project. Each one of these 15 resources or references, you are going to give a short summary of to describe why it's going to benefit your study. You're going to put that together, and that is going to be your annotated bibliography, and that is going to be the second component or the second chapter of your prospectus. The third assignment you have, or the next assignment, is going to be your methodology chapter. That is the third chapter of your prospectus. Our first being the introduction, our second being our annotated bibliography or lit review, and our third being our methodologies chapter. And this is going to talk about how you are going to do this research project. Remember, we are not going to actually carry out this research project. We are just going to do the step 1, introduce it, step 2, talk about the research that supports it, and step 3, methodologies on how, if you were to hypothetically do this research, how you would do the steps. And those 3 portions are going to make up our critical assignments, our research prospectus. We also have a final exam based upon the readings. That's 100 points. And then our critical exam is the actual research prospectus, where you put together all these written assignments, modular building once again. These written assignments are going to make chapter 1. Annotated bibliography is going to make up chapter 2. Add chapter 3, your methodologies. And when you put that all together, that is your research prospectus. The benefit of this course is you do all the work on the front side. We do not have a large looming critical assignment that at the end of this course you need to put all together or that you need to complete. Literally in this course, you just take the prior 7 weeks of coursework, combine it together, make it look clean, and put that together, and that is going to be our research prospectus. That's one of the benefits of this course, is that you do all the work on the front side, you combine it together, and you make a nice research perspective, as opposed to some of your other courses where you might learn something over 6 weeks, and then you have a very large assignment that you need to produce at the end. We're going to spread that work out over all the weeks. We talk about the assessment policies. You can see here our point distribution, our final grades. We know that all of our grades are going to be posted via Blackboard. We have our course schedule. As you look through this, I want to just point out that assignments are due on day 7. Day 7. Our academic week is going to start on Monday and continue through Sunday. Monday through Sunday. So let's make that clear. So in week 1, your assignments are going to be due by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday evening. Week 2 is going to then begin on Monday morning at 001 and continue. So our coursework is distributed in a way that everything is due by the end of the week, Sunday at 11:59. I am very strict on my late work policy, where I expect you to have your work in on time at the conclusion of each week. If you look at it from my perspective, you have an entire 7 days to work on these assignments. I cannot see that anybody has a course schedule, a academic life, a professional life that doesn't allow them some sort of time to accomplish their tasks within that time frame. If you neglect your studies and wait till Sunday evening, it is very difficult to meet those time frames. If you use time management and spread out the work throughout the week, which I recommend, you will be very successful in not only this online class, but all of your online classes as we move forward. So as we can see, we break down each week in our course schedule. You see that there's 3 deliverables typically on each week. An assignment 1, a quiz 1, and a journal 1 in week 1. And we see that that variation continues throughout each week, as with assignments being due on our day 7. As we get closer towards the last week of the course, you will see the only variations to due dates. And the reason behind this is, as you probably already understand being an ops student, is that I, as the professor, need to get your work graded and completed by the completion of this class. And I have a very quick turnaround. So that's why I'm going to ask you to get some of your larger assignments turned in early in week 8, so that I have an opportunity to grade your assignments, give you adequate feedback, and get that grading submitted to the university. And I will clearly announce all of these dates under several different forms: email announcement, course announcements, videos on a weekly, so that you will be very clear on the exact day. But understand your research prospectus is going to be due on day 3 of week 8, your final exam on day 4, your journal and your course evaluation on day 5, to give me adequate time to get those graded. You can read through my expectations on professionalism, regular and efficient contact. Lancer Mail is going to be our form of communication and email communication. I check this on a daily basis. I will even go beyond that I live in the same world you do, or I imagine that you do, that you carry around some sort of phone that has your email connected to it, and every time you get an email, it beeps. And my phone does the same thing. So when you email me, I am typically going to receive that email immediately. My commitment to you as students is that I understand being an online student, which I have gone through all of the programs here at Cal Baptist, like you, on the online side. And I understand that when you submit an email, when you have a question, you want quick and prompt feedback. When you submit an assignment, you want quick and prompt grading and feedback. And I understood as a student that I wanted that, and I will continue that commitment to you as your professor. So when you email me, I will attempt to get back to you as soon as possible. knowing that I carry my phone, I have access, but there are occasions that I do have another career and I do not sit in front of my computer constantly. That, or there's going to be questions that are going to require me to do some sort of research to answer your question, but I will be committed to you to get back to you as soon as possible. We have standards that I need to get to back with you within 24 hours. I need to give you feedback on your assignments, which is within 72 hours, and I have 1 week on your major assignments. I will try that is the maximum amount of time, but I will do much better than that, and that's my promise to you. If you have a question or a concern and you send me an email, I will do everything I can to get back to you as soon as possible. With grading, I typically will wait till the end of the week. And what I mean by that is if you have an assignment that you submit and the due date is week 1, day 7, I typically do all my grading on the Monday following that. So if on Sunday it's due, the Monday, the day after, I do all of my grading. I typically will grade all of your assignments together. So as an example, if you are all submitting a discussion board, I will grade all the discussion boards. So at the beginning of the next week, you can anticipate feedback and grading. And I try to keep that true for all your assignments because I realize that you want feedback to get an understanding of how I'm grading, especially in this modular type, because a lot of my feedback to you is then going to allow you to move forward with your coursework. As an example, you're going to submit research questions. I'm going to give you a little bit of feedback on your research questions, and from those research questions, you're going to move forward to the next module in the building of, let's say, your first chapter of the introduction. So, effective communication is key. But remember, communication is going to move goes both ways in this course. I need to get back to you as soon as possible, but you also need to, if you have any issues at all within this course, early and frequent communication is key. There's very few things that we cannot accomplish with communications. There's very few problems that we can't remedy. There's not very many issues that we can't identify and move forward with. But the key to that is communications. And if you have a problem with week 1 assignments, emailing me at 11 o'clock at night on the Sunday it's due is not um, adequate communication. We need to be early and often, and we will be able to solve all problems that will come our way, or the majority. And I can't see anything that we cannot work through with proper communications. And then that comes to our late assignment policy. So I'm going to read through this because this is typically the, I don't want to say the only, but the biggest issue that we have in any of our online classes revolves around our late assignment. So I'm going to read this to you very clearly, and I'm going to then break it down. So no late assignments will be accepted without instructor approval or a bona fide emergency and at the sole discretion of the professor. Computer, printer, email, and similar technical problems are not acceptable excuses for late work. If you anticipate a problem, illness, potential family emergencies, etc., let the professor know and keep them informed. Email messages are checked regularly. Except for bona fide emergency, approval needs to be received before the assignment due date. All unsubmitted assignments will receive a 0 and will be calculated in the gradebook. Acceptance of late work cannot receive full credit no matter how perfect it is. Late assignments will be deducted 10% of the point value of the given assignment for every day it is late. No assignments will be accepted beyond 1 week of the original due date, no exceptions. No late discussion threads or blogs will be accepted beyond the due date, and critical assignments must be submitted as scheduled, no exceptions. And late work will not be accepted after the course end date. So let me break each one of those down. No late assignments will be accepted without instructor approval or a bona fide emergency and at the sole discretion of the professor. What I mean by that is if you have an issue not completing your assignments by the due date, get a hold of me, email me, tell me what your issue is, and we will be able to work around. I have a life, I have a family, I have several jobs, and I know that under certain circumstances, life happens, and I understand that. And with that, I am more than willing to work around and to help you through the times of issues. The key is that you need to communicate me prior to the end of the work of the due date. And communication is going to be the key. With communication, you will typically have my approval to turn in late work. Without communication, there are going to be very few bona fide emergencies. Computer printer and email and similar technical problems are not acceptable excuses for late work. I believe that we live in a world today that you can get internet access anywhere. You can go to a Starbucks. I always hear excuses that I was in an area where there wasn't internet access, and I wonder where you're at. Because I understand that we both live in the same world and that there is internet capability anywhere if you plan ahead. If you anticipate a problem, illness, potential family emergency, let your professor know and keep them informed. The key there is just communication. If something happens, send me a quick email that says, hey, I have a family emergency. I might not be able to get my assignment due today. I will reply back and give you permission and hope for you the best and get through that. Constant communication is the key. I'm going to check my email messages regularly. Except for bona fide emergencies, approval needs to be received before the assignment due date. I don't want to hear afterwards that on Tuesday that I was too busy last week to get my assignment in. I want to hear before. In order to get permission to turn in a late assignment, it needs to be before, except for bona fide emergencies. I was in a car accident. I was unconscious for the last 4 days, as a very extreme example. But I don't see very many bona fide emergencies. How in today's world you can't from your phone send me a quick text or a quick email that says, hey, I have an emergency. This is what's going on. Do I have an extension? I will work around almost all your excuses or your emergencies because I understand life happens. But if you do get permission to turn in a late assignment, you do realize that you are going to lose points. That's the fair and equitable means of my policy. I need to give you less points as opposed to the person who is able to meet the deadlines. So if you do get late work, you cannot receive full credit, even if it's perfect. Each day you're going to lose 10%. So if you are granted permission to turn your assignment in late, and you turn it in on Tuesday, that is going to lose 20%. Monday being 10, Tuesday being 20. If it's perfect work and there's no other deductions, you are going to, and it's 100 point, you're going to get 80 points or 80%. I'm sure that math is straightforward to you. For every day it is late, no assignments will be accepted beyond 1 week. The logic there is with that math, you're already going to lose 70%. And by this point, we've moved forward, and especially in this course. So we just need to be on top and understand if you do have a late assignment, you are going to lose points and 10% per day. No late discussion threads or blogs will be accepted beyond the due date. So even if I grant you permission to turn in your work late, you will not get for discussion boards, that does not apply. And the logic behind that is you understand that a discussion board is a conversation between you and your fellow classmates where you're presenting a topic and they're replying to it. It's this interactive version that replaces our dialogue in the classroom. Late assignments for discussion boards lose that concept because everybody who has already discussed has moved on. So when you submit late, they're not going to have an opportunity to review and build upon the discussion and take, and build to this academic conversation. So discussion boards, just based upon their design, do not afford them to be turned in late. And our critical assignment must be submitted as scheduled. That's a school policy. So we will, on that, on week 8, there's no exceptions. And for this course, there shouldn't be any reason to turn them in late because you've already done all the work in the weeks prior. Literally, you need to put it together and submit into TaskStream. And on the closeout date of this course, we cannot accept any coursework after the end date. And that, once again, is a university policy. So we have some etiquette, some academic honesty, students with disability, and some additional resources that I have included for academic study and to further your understanding of research methods and how this criminal justice and criminology and academic research works. So there's some additional studies there for you. So I hope that's clear on our some of the key components of our syllabus, especially what courses or what our coursework for this course will be, our late policy, the fact that we are working on an academic week that ends on a Sunday evening, that you have clear understandings of the syllabus. Now, like anything, if you have any issues, concerns, or comments, you need to get a hold of me as soon as possible. Email me with any questions, concerns that you have, and we will be able to to get some clarity on those, to come up with a solution, and to answer any of those questions that you might have. Now, in closing, I look forward to this course and our time together over the next 8 weeks. This is a very exciting course for me. I think for many of you, it'll be an interesting class. It might be out of your comfort zone because for many of you, you're not researchers. You're working your way through criminal justice. And now we are going to add this idea or this concept of research so that you have a much better understanding as you move forward in your academic careers and you start reading more academic works that have research based upon them. So I look forward to our time together. This is an exciting course. And once again, any questions, concerns, or comments, get a hold of me as soon as possible. Thank you, and I will talk to you all very shortly.